I think they lying. That technically, based off what they're saying, Caitlin Clark is not cleared to play 5-on-5. Now, how in the hell? She got injured in July, right? Because, matter of fact, guys, there's a doctor that shared some info. You know what? Give me a quick second. Let me pull up this clip. Now, y'all know me, man. I got to come with the facts. And the fact of the matter is, Stephanie White is looking real spooky. Now, this was back in July. Now, this is just one doctor.
Controversy has emerged surrounding Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White's statements regarding Caitlin Clark's recovery timeline. Medical professionals have challenged the official narrative presented about the rookie sensation's injuries during the season. The situation involves multiple injury incidents that occurred between May and July. Clark experienced a left quadriceps strain on May 26th, followed by a left groin strain on July 5th, and subsequently a right groin strain on July 16th. What makes this timeline noteworthy is the disconnect between medical expert opinions and the team's public statements about recovery expectations.
Doctor, we got two. Let's listen to this. Let's just have a rewind back.
Another groin strain. This is the other side. As we talked about with the first one on the left side coming back after the quad, day-to-day is not accurate for even a minor groin strain. It was closer to 2 weeks before she returned, played well, and now the other side, the right side. It is unclear what imaging shows, but once again, the new groin strain is not.
Medical specialists who analyzed the situation publicly disputed the day-to-day designation initially given to these injuries. One healthcare professional emphasized that even minor groin strains typically require approximately 2 weeks for proper recovery, not the suggested daily evaluation approach. When Clark sustained the second groin injury on the opposite side, medical experts again contradicted the team's assessment, stating the condition would be week to week rather than the more optimistic day-to-day prognosis offered by team representatives. The chronology reveals that after the initial left side injury in late May, Clark returned to action, though the actual recovery period was closer to the 2-week timeframe medical professionals recommended. Despite initial suggestions of a quicker return, she subsequently missed the All-Star game and three-point contest due to the right groin strain.
And the new groin strain is not day-to-day. She's already missing the All-Star game and the three-point contest. The question is how much more? We won't know until we know about the imaging details, which were not revealed. But in any case, it's not day-to-day, closer to week.
Now, that was week to week. Now, this was in July, right? Now, I got even more receipts from Stephanie White herself, even talking about Caitlin Clark injury because
questions arose about when full clearance would be granted, but imaging details were never publicly disclosed. White's own statements throughout this period appear inconsistent when examined collectively. In late May, when asked about Clark's initial injury, the coach acknowledged learning about the leg issue after it occurred, stating they obtained an MRI and received results the following day. White emphasized the team's depth and ability to handle rotations during Clark's absence. During June press conferences, White repeatedly used phrases like day-to-day and one day at a time when discussing Clark's status.
From Stephanie White herself, even talking about Caitlin Clark injury because they was talking about Caitlin Clark today just now doing 5-on-5, right? Look, we got to hold her to that because that's what she said. She basically says Caitlin Clark is not cleared. Now, I did the first video. Now, this is from another doctor back in July breaking down a time frame of Caitlin Clark injury. Listen to this. This was on July the 16th. Now, this is when Caitlin Clark injuries happen, right? It says Caitlin Clark injury history, left quad strain, May the 26th, left a groin strain.
She mentioned that Clark was described as tough and a quick healer, suggesting optimism about rapid recovery. However, White also indicated she would defer to strength, conditioning, and athletic training staff for specific medical determinations. By mid-July, when additional setbacks occurred, White characterized all these issues as little injuries, maintaining the day-to-day assessment approach. She mentioned keeping Clark in good spirits through multiple setbacks and continuing to address everything that needed attention. White indicated Clark would see additional doctors and undergo more testing while acknowledging she didn't expect availability for upcoming games.
History, left quad strain, May the 26th, left a groin strain, July 5th, right groin strain, July 16th. Initially, He said initially he thought the strain she suffered last night was a re-injury, but realized that it wasn't. Obviously, we know that. Now, this was all the reports that was released by the Indiana Fever front office. Out status. This was all within like a couple weeks of each other. These are just all the different things. Now, the doctor went on to say more things. Now, with that being said, I want to fast forward real quick.
What complicates the narrative further is the reported fact that Clark sought outside medical opinions beyond the Fever's team physicians during this period. This development raised questions about confidence in the internal medical assessments. The timeline becomes particularly significant when considering that all these injury incidents and statements occurred before August. Yet months later, discussions continued about Clark working toward 5-on-5 clearance, which seems inconsistent with the minor and little injury descriptions provided throughout the summer months. Critics point out several inconsistencies. If these were genuinely minor injuries as characterized, why did recovery extend far beyond what medical experts suggested was necessary?
Fast forward real quick. Go back to what Chloe said today, and I want you guys to read some of these comments before Stephanie White is probably not going to like your boy John Liquidator, but I just got to be honest, man. Like, y'all got to quit lying to the people, bro, because it's almost like a donkey and a carrot. Look, y'all remember when I made that donkey and a carrot video months ago with the donkey with the carrot and they, with the donkey walking and stuff? That's what they're doing. They've been doing this. And now it's PR, it's damage control.
Why did the terminology shift from day-to-day assessments in July to ongoing recovery discussions months later? And why were there continued limitations on full contact practice participation well into the fall? The situation raised broader questions about transparency in sports injury reporting and whether team interests might sometimes conflict with accurate public communication about player health status. Some observers suggested the extended timeline appeared strategic rather than purely medical, potentially related to team systems, rotations, or other basketball operations considerations. White's repeated emphasis on taking things one day at a time and letting medical staff make determinations seemed at odds with the extended nature of the restrictions.
They've been doing this, and now it's PR, it's damage control. Well, you know what? I'm going to be all over that, because all you got to do is tell the truth. That's all you got to do from the beginning. Tell the truth why y'all didn't want Caitlin Clark to come back, because they wanted to run your little stupid offense. Tell the truth. Tell the truth, because boy, oh boy, I'm on it. It looked like fans is catching on too. One fan said, no one believes a single word the biggest liar in the women's basketball landscape, a.k.a. Stephanie White, has to say. I'm not saying this. They said this 20 hours ago. Then it goes on to say, it was great to hear Caitlin Clark still working, and hopefully she's ready. Somebody said, I don't understand.
Medical professionals who commented publicly maintained that typical recovery for the described injuries would not require the prolonged timeline that ultimately unfolded. The contrast between what medical experts said should be expected recovery timeframes and what actually transpired has fueled speculation about whether basketball decisions rather than purely medical ones influenced the handling. Clark's return to full participation, the fact that team representatives consistently described the injuries as minor while simultaneously implementing extended recovery protocols, appears contradictory. By the time the season concluded and playoff elimination occurred, questions remained about whether Clark could have returned to action earlier if different decisions had been made. The extended recovery period for what were publicly characterized as minor, routine soft tissue injuries struck many observers as unusual compared to how similar injuries are typically managed across professional sports.
I don't understand why can other players come back from injuries and just play. Stewie, JJ, Nafisa, was Caitlin Clark much more serious? Now, let's fast forward it back here, because this is Stephanie White talking from her own words. This is Stephanie White's own words, right? Way back when. See, that's why you gotta love the power of the internet, because stuff will stick. And I'm telling you right now, this stuck. Guess what, Stephanie White? This is you right here.
The accumulation of statements, medical expert opinions, and the actual timeline has led to scrutiny of how the situation was handled and communicated. Whether the conservative approach was purely precautionary medical judgment or
I mean this when I say this. Like, apparently this is racist. Apparently this is racist. I mean this when I say this. Like, if nothing else is a compliment towards Adri. She's literally just talking about food restrictions.
A huge one I forgot to mention is gluten, which is in every carb pretty much possible. And I know they make like gluten-free stuff, but that shit tastes weird to me. I can still eat chicken. That's good. Yeah, I feel like I'm going to be kind of turning into a...
I just realized about 1.75 times speed, but screw it.
rabbit. So
The pattern of repeated reassurances, followed by extended absence, created credibility, questions that persisted beyond the season's end. Ultimately, the situation serves as a case study in how injury communication is managed in professional basketball and the scrutiny that arises when timelines significantly exceed what both medical experts and the team's own initial statements suggested would be necessary. The disconnect between calling injuries little and day-to-day while implementing what became a months-long managed return remains the central point of contention in this ongoing discussion. Sports enthusiasts within the WNBA community have demonstrated particularly intense reactions compared to fans of other athletic leagues. Recent situations involving player contracts, such as those concerning Dana Bonner and Dominique Malonga, have shown instances where supporters believe athletes should have flexibility in abandoning contractual obligations without consequence.
yeah, I feel like I'm going to be kind of turning into a
I just realized about 1.75 times speed, but screw it.
rabbit. So I don't know. I guess I'm going to turn into a Victoria's Secret model. Call me Angel Reese.
She mentioned Victoria's Secret and then just goes, oh, he's obviously just because Angel Reese said, call me Angel Reese. Like, she literally, and everything is like, oh, she's so weird, why bring her up? Because she was talking about being a Victoria's Secret model. Angel Reese was. It is ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. Like, everyone going mad about it, being like, oh, Sophie Cunningham's a grifter. So what if she...
The latest controversy centers around Phoenix Mercury player Sophie Cunningham, who has faced considerable backlash from certain fan segments. The criticism directed toward Cunningham appears excessive given the relatively minor nature of her actions. Despite the absurdity of the attacks, Cunningham seems capable of handling the negativity directed her way. The specific incident involved Cunningham making a casual reference to Angel Reese. Supporters of Reese have mobilized against Cunningham, with some characterizing her comments as having racial undertones.
Grifter, so what if she is? So what if she's a cloud chaser? Who gives a damn? Who gives a damn? Genuinely. Who gives a damn? Like, okay, yeah, you know, she mentioned Angel Reese, and it's she literally mentioned Victoria's Secret, and it goes, call me Angel Reese at the end of it, and they were like, oh, apparently she's being racist towards Angel Reese. It's like, oh my god, if nothing else, this is a compliment. First of all, it's a throwaway statement. It's a throwaway statement, and they're now...
This interpretation stretches credibility significantly. The context reveals that Cunningham was merely discussing dietary limitations during a conversation about food restrictions. During her discussion, Cunningham explained her challenges with gluten, which appears in nearly all carbohydrate-based foods. While gluten-free alternatives exist, she expressed dissatisfaction with their taste. Chicken remained one of the foods she could consume without issue.
Throwaway statement. It's a throwaway statement, and they're now attacking Sophie Cunningham. I mean this. Sophie Cunningham could say the sky is blue, and these dumbasses would try to find a way to get rid of her. And by the way, there are Fever fans that are still trying to find excuses to get rid of Sophie Cunningham, being like, oh, you know, she's trying to, you know, take advantage of Caitlin Clark's fame. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn if Sophie Cunningham started selling merch with her and a cartoon Caitlin saying, I'm Caitlin's friend. If she continues to shoot 43% from three...
The conversation led her to joke about potentially becoming extremely thin from these restrictions. The reference that sparked controversy came when Cunningham mentioned Victoria's Secret models and then stated, call me Angel Reese. This comment directly connected to Reese's own previous statements about Victoria's Secret modeling. Critics questioned why Cunningham would bring up Reese at all, seemingly forgetting the obvious connection between Victoria's Secret and Reese's own public comments on the subject. The reaction from various communities has been disproportionate.
From three, while being an above-average defender, being able to pass the ball well, being able to slot in on four positions occasionally, and being able to, you know, rotate the ball side to side, which you need to do in a motion offense, and she is one of two players on this team to pass laterally, and it's Aaliyah Boston and her. I'm sorry, you are not getting a Sophie Cunningham. That player does not exist. Like, genuinely.
to the ball when you're open, and all you have to...
Some have labeled Cunningham as opportunistic or accused her of attempting to gain attention. However, such accusations miss the point entirely. The comment represented nothing more than a fleeting remark within a larger conversation. Whether intentional or not, the reference could even be interpreted as complimentary rather than critical.
That player does not exist. Like, genuinely.
to the ball when you're open, and all you have to...
A Sophie Cunningham, there's not many. She was the second leading player in the league in true shooting percentage. She is one of the better. She's one of the top maybe 50 players in the league. And she was paid close to a vet minimum last year. I don't think she'll take a vet minimum again. But she is one of the best players for the Fever. I stand by this. She was like the Leo Phoebe type player. Like she's not a great defensive stopper, but she's a smart defender. I don't think she's a great
Despite the simplicity of the statement, detractors have seized upon it as evidence of problematic behavior. Cunningham faces criticism regardless of her actions, with opponents seemingly determined to find fault in anything she says or does. This pattern has become particularly apparent among certain Indiana Fever supporters who have attempted to justify removing her from the roster. Some critics claim Cunningham exploits Caitlin Clark's popularity for personal gain.
Great defender, she's a smart defender. But like Sophie Cunningham was literally, she was one of the most important players for the Fever. And like, I understand. I actually, you know what? Like, I don't understand, the hatred towards her from other teams. Like, I actually don't, because at the end of the day, all of her teammates fucking everyone who's ever been her teammate fucking loves her. But like, Sophie Cunningham is just, you just can't.
This accusation holds little weight when examining her actual contributions on the court. Statistics demonstrate that Cunningham maintained a remarkable 43% shooting percentage from three-point range throughout the season while providing above-average defensive capabilities. Her passing abilities and versatility across multiple positions make her exceptionally valuable. The offense employed by the Fever requires players capable of moving the ball laterally through proper spacing and rotation.
Every been her teammate fucking loves her. But like, Sophie Cunningham is just, you just can't like Sophie Cunningham. If you look, there was a stretch. 16, 13, 11, 12, 15, 15 on silly three-point shooting. And then 5, 12, 6, 17, 8, 18, 16, 14, 8, then got hurt. Like, she genuinely was the best. Was, in my opinion, after Leo Phoebish, probably the best fifth option in the league. She might have been the best fifth option. Like, I don't think there are that many teams.
Only 2 players on the roster consistently executed this fundamental skill, Aaliyah Boston and Cunningham. Finding replacements with similar capabilities would prove nearly impossible. Cunningham ranked as the second leading player in the league for true shooting percentage, establishing herself among the top 50 players overall despite earning close to veteran minimum salary. Her value extended beyond simple statistics.